Hello everyone, I just want to share a passage with you found in Galatians chapter 5 verses 16 and 17. I say then, walk in the Spirit and you shall not fulfill the lust of the flesh. For the flesh lusts against the Spirit and the Spirit against the flesh. And these are contrary to one another, so that you do not do the things that you wish. So we see here these passages, same as many other passages in the New Testament, talk about the battle, the war between the flesh and the spirit. And this is a war that each believer is having. The flesh pulls towards sin, towards sinful things, toward things that we many times like, we want to enjoy. Maybe not all of them are sinful, but this is where the flesh is pulling us. But mostly the flesh pulls towards sin, and the spirit pulls toward something spiritual, something coming from God, something that usually takes us out of our comfort zone. And this is the war that a Christian is having. But the question is here, does not doing certain things makes me a believer? Is this what the Bible actually says? This epistle, the epistle to the Galatians, was written supposedly to believers, to people who already walked with God. And so supposedly they had that war between the flesh and the spirit. But does not doing certain things makes me a Christian? It's not always that way. Why? Because not cursing, not stealing, or not lying are things that God, for example, requires from me. But not doing those things only doesn't actually make me a Christian. I'm not thinking of myself that I'm something more or I'm a better man because I do not steal or I do not lie, I do not do certain things. These things alone don't make me a believer, a Christian, a follower of Christ. But what actually makes me a follower of Christ is to receive His forgiveness, is to have faith in Him, is to be convinced in Him that He is a creator of all, that He is my Lord and Savior. This is what makes me a believer. If I receive a forgiveness, then yes, I become a believer. And then, of course, after God starts requiring from me to walk in holiness, to get better in my way, a believer also might fall into sin, but he aims to get better, he aims to walk in holiness, and just not doing certain things doesn't make him a Christian. He doesn't do those sins, he doesn't walk in the flesh, he doesn't want to walk in the flesh even though the flesh is pulling him, because he wants to please God. And the Bible in many passages tells us as well to walk in holiness. It urges us to walk in holiness, but this is for the believers, for those who already have been redeemed. If I just don't do certain things, doesn't mean that my sins are forgiven, that I'm better than other people. There was the parable of the Pharisee and the tax collector, where the Pharisee was boasting because he was not doing certain things, he was not stealing, he was not cursing, he was not doing many other things that other sinful people were doing. He was boasting because he was fasting, he was doing things that apparently religion was requiring. Those same things are done also by the believer, but he will never boast because he's not sinning in certain ways. He will rather be humble. He will be grateful to God because God granted him to be a believer, because he received His grace and forgiveness. This is the difference. The Pharisee was showing the wrong attitude by boasting, because his faith was based just on not doing certain things and not on the grace. Yes, not to steal, not to lie, or not to do other things that we esteem sinful, that the Bible esteems as something sinful, might be a sign that you're a believer. But this is not the only sign. We need to receive His forgiveness and His grace. The tax collector in that parable wouldn't raise his eyes up to heaven. He was humble. He was saying, God, forgive me because I am a sinner. This is what we can say: God, forgive me because I am a sinner. I don't deserve you. I'm sure that after that, that tax collector was changed man. He was different. He started walking in path of holiness. He started aiming toward that life. But at that point, he was seeing himself as a sinner, and he was a redeemed sinner afterwards. And even believers will have to go other times in front of God's throne, asking humbly for forgiveness. This is the difference. Because why? Because they don't boast for the things they do, good things, or for the bad things they avoid doing. They're humble because they know they're believers, because they received God's grace. And this is what God requires from us, to be humble and to believe in His name. Thank you for listening.